everybody! Welcome back to the Sons of Anarchy deep dive. My name is Ronnie. I'm a longtime Sons of Anarchy fan, and I just so happened to have this idea after watching some of my favorite deep dive YouTubers. Started off, our first episode we did was one episode, and it was kind of like 40 minutes long. But that's because the first episode had a lot of exposition and storytelling that needed to be clarified. This episode, we'll do episode 2 and 3 as the same episode. First things first, spoiler alert for the Sons of Anarchy Season 1. Also, trigger warning for sexual assault, violence, They finally get the money from the guns that got stolen from them in the first episode. They have to rebuild their whole warehouse and, find a new place for that and everything. Then you learn that the cops from the other town right next door to Charming get a warrant to search the warehouse, or the remains of the warehouse. Sus. They don't want nobody searching in their warehouse, especially because you learn that the two girls that are dead in there had sex with Tig. You can tell Gemma is still really worried about what Jax found. You can tell she really doesn't want him learning the wrong thing. So she asked Clay if Jax had said anything to him about what he found in the warehouse, but he didn't. He didn't even say anything to Clay in the first place, except for, questioning some of the stuff that he does and, questioning the amount of violence that they deal with. This is the episode where you meet Unser. Unser is a dirty cop. He's been friends with Gemma and Clay and even JT when he was alive, when they were younger. He's low-key kind of in love with Gemma, but we'll get to that later. So, you meet Unser. The head cop of the town is a dirty cop that works with the Sons. But he's really sick with cancer, so he's going to step down from his position, and this guy named Hale is going to take his position. So then the cops are searching the warehouse and they find the two dead bodies. So they block it off and they make it into a crime scene. And this is where you meet Hale. Hale is the one that's going to take over sheriff from Unser, but he's a straight cop. He wants to make the town a better place, Then you see that Abel is still hospitalized, but he's doing a lot better. He's probably going to be in the hospital for at least 4 months. He's kind of in a baby microwave, when infants are sick or whatever, and they put them in the little plastic box. Then you learn that the only reason Abel exists was because when Jax and Wendy initially broke up, they got a divorce, but a few months later they tried to reconcile, and that's when she got pregnant with Abel. After that, he was like, I don't really want to be with you, but, you have my baby, and, obviously I'm going to try to help you as much as I can. So essentially, he let her, live in his house. And that's the same house that Gemma was cleaning in the first episode that he had to go flush the drugs at. Tara nonchalantly asks if he's still with Wendy, and then it cuts to Opie. And you see Opie is struggling with bills. He's struggling really badly financially, so he decided to go ask his dad for help. His dad, Piney, but Piney doesn't have any money to give him, but he tells him to go fix his shit with Clay, be a man about it, and go fix your shit, and deal with your shit, type thing. Then you get a mention of Otto. Otto is a longtime character. He is one of the original Sons. Otto is actually played by Kurt Sutter. Kurt Sutter is the creator, and he's married to Katie Segal, who plays Gemma. And Gemma also sings a lot of songs on the soundtrack for at least the first couple of seasons. To cover up the two dead bodies, Jax and the gang are at church. And first, Clay's like, let's just go kill people. I don't even understand really what their solution was, but he was going to go send Tig to go kill some people. But Jax says, what if I could do this without killing anybody? And everyone's like, and he's points to this thing on the wall. It says brains before bullets, which obviously use your brain before killing people type shit, which also is directly in line with what JT has written in his book. So Jax suggests that they take the 2 dead people and just cremate them because they are like friends with the town cremator or whatever. Then you see Darby and Alvarez at the park. Darby is the white supremacist gang leader and Alvarez is the Mayans leader. And essentially he says he thinks the Sons are going to come kill him, so he needs protection. And he's trying to get protection from Alvarez and his boys. Just so happens while they're at the park, Darby's car gets stolen. Chibs and Jax steal his car, and they decide to use it in a crime. But you learn that Darby is trying to drive SAMCRO out of Charming. Jax hooks up with a lot of random ladies throughout this. He's kind of a man whore. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. But it's definitely part of his character. So they pick up the dead body that they're going to replace the body with, and they end up almost getting like driven off the road by like a random car. Back at the hospital, Tara is questioning Gemma about who gave Wendy the heroin. We all know it's Gemma, but Gemma's pretending like it wasn't. Gemma threatens Wendy. And then she says something like, oh, what if I tell Jax about my theory? And then his mom's like, oh, is that how you're going to win back my son? By blaming his wife for shooting up his girlfriend with heroin? As they're transporting the dead body, it's Chibs and Jax in one car, and then Juice and Half-Sack in the car behind them. Juice, I don't know if we talked about Juice. Juice is a younger dude. I think in my idea of how the timeline works, he was the most recent prospect before Half-Sack, but now he's part of the gang. So Juice is a younger dude. He's kind of into drugs, and he's like a hacker. So they get pulled over because the front end of the car is smashed, but they know that if the car gets searched, they're going to get in a lot of trouble because there's a dead body. So to keep them from getting in trouble, Juice decides he's going to ram into the back of the car while the cops are pulling them over so that the cop has no choice but to chase them down instead. So he does that and he runs from the cops, and Jax and Chibs hightail it out of there. Funny enough, they actually used Darby's car for this. You often see these guys doing a lot of violent, crazy shit, even though, like, Jax's whole little, like, thing now is, like, reading his dad's book and, like, doing stuff without killing people or without hurting people. It cuts to Clay and Opie. Clay's asking if Opie resents the club for putting him in prison. Opie says, of course not. I don't blame anybody. So Clay puts him on this protection run after he asks him a few questions, and then you see Opie's wife, Donna, at the store, and she has to put away like half of her groceries because she can't afford them. So Gemma is actually behind her at the store and buys the rest of her groceries for her. So she brings them to her at the car, and then Donna's like, I don't need your charity. Opie's out of jail now. Like, we're fine. Like, leave me alone type shit. And then Gemma's just like, look, come over tonight for family dinner. You'll have a good time. You'll see everybody. You guys are welcome. You know where we live. Don't say anything else because my Martha Stewart is running real damn low. And then you see that essentially Clay like bullies Unser into staying longer as the police chief. He convinces him to stay 6 more months because he knows that Hale is like on a rampage to fuck over the Sons. The first time you see Jax in his secret hiding spot on the roof of TM reading his dad's book. You see Gemma in the back room of TM, which is like in the warehouse where I said they have the secret rooms for hooking up with people. Jax has been living in one of them. So she goes to Jax's room and starts like digging through shit. She finds a picture of herself as a girl, or a young woman, with her dad, and it's kind of weird because she asks Jax if she's hot, and he says she's smoking hot, and it's just kind of like, that's your mom, bro. Like, if you had a mother like Gemma, she forces you to have a mommy thing. She asked about the book. He pretty much lies and said that all he found was like a journal. It was like reading some entries. That's all. But he actually has the book with him currently in a binder. So he lies to her and says he didn't find really anything and leaves the room with the book under his arm. But he's like, oh, it's a custom build for like a bike. And like walks out and leaves. So she then searches his room again, trying to find the journal. seemingly Gemma knows something that we don't. But she does find a picture of her at her wedding with JT and Clay next to him. She's like really big pregnant, and it's an interesting shot. And then you see her burning it later. Clay is also gay coded as fuck. I'm not sure what Ron Perlman's sexuality is, but like the way he dresses, like his fashion sense is literally leather daddy to the T. He has like a little earring, you know, all that jazz. I fucking love it. It pretty much ends with you see the family dinner for the club is really happy and like they're all talking and they're all having a good time. And then you see Opie's family dinner, which is like quiet and depressing, honestly. So that is episode 2. And like I said, I don't feel like there's much in it, but episode 3 gets really intense and it's going to be the second half of this video. So this is where the realist trigger warning comes in, because this is where rape, sexual assault on a minor, violence. If you don't want to watch that shit, feel free to click off. I'm not going to fucking blame anybody for not wanting to watch this. Also, just for my own sanity, so you all know, because I don't think anybody's going to look this up, I'll play a short clip of what this fucking... Sorry, I'm going to play a short clip of what the soundtrack sounds like. I'm sorry, the theme song, because I fucking hate it so bad. Right into this world, all alone. Anyways, so that's it. It's bad. It's really bad. Not to spoil anything, this is something you'll be hearing later. So, you know, look forward to that. Not. After watching The Sopranos and going to this, you can't really get much better than The Sopranos theme song. Okay, so I had to take a small break because the second episode, I made this video twice, and the first time it didn't really work out, so I don't like this third episode. I don't like talking about triggering subjects. I don't, you know, I don't like talking about it. I don't like watching it. So I'm having to rewatch this episode for the sake of you guys. So it starts and you see the gang and the boys at the circus, or like the traveling circus, and they're all having fun and running around and like doing silly stuff, like messing with the carnies and like all that stuff, whatever. Then you meet these two as family, a mom and a dad, a daughter. This is Elliot, Karen, and their daughter. And Elliot and Karen are two really, really wealthy people in Charming. Their daughter, you see her go run off to go ride rides or something, and she's like 14 or 13. But then it cuts to later on in the day, and her daughter is missing. She can't find her anywhere. So this is where the triggering part begins. So they find her. She has been essayed and left in the forest, just like disheveled and like beaten. And it's really awful. So the cops find her and they take her to the hospital. But she's not really telling anybody anything. She's saying that she doesn't remember after she got off the ride. Her dad comes to the boys for revenge, essentially, that if they find the rapist and bring him to the dad is going to cut his dick. Right? And they're like, well, if we do it, you better cut his dick, because this shit's not allowed in this town. You can't be doing that here. Like, if you don't cut his dick off, I'm probably just going to kill him. And they also mention the fact that the town comes to SAMCRO for things like this and not the cops, because they trust SAMCRO more than they trust the cops. This club has been around in this town for a really, really, really long time. Like, they helped the town. They help keep... A part of what they do is keeping it from getting overly developed. Like, in the first few episodes, they're like talking about how they don't want it to be Disney because there would be nothing pushing these developers out. It's essentially like a big part of what their club does for the city. You know, they hunt down rapists and stop people from selling drugs and shit. But they also cause a fair amount of crime. So it's just like, you know, one of those things. Hale, the good cop, his dad is evidently like a developer in the town or something. I don't know how on earth he got this information, but he did. So the information he was told was that the dad of the girl that got assaulted went to SAMCRO and they put two and two together where it's like, oh, he's going to them so that they can get the rapist for him. Hale's like, shit, well, we can't, like, we have to send a message where we're the ones who catch him, and SAMCRO doesn't have anything to do with this. So he goes down to TM Motors, where all the guys are working, and he starts an investigation where he's gonna have to interview every single guy that was at the circus that night. It's not that they blame them for being the ones that did it. They just know that, I guess the idea behind it is like, if we have people holding the whole gang, we can send more cops to go look. They're like calling all the boys to the clubhouse, and they all have to stay there and give like their statement for the night. And you learn that Wendy lied about how she got the heroin. She told the cops that a friend brought it in for her and didn't tell them about Gemma. So then Tara, Jax's ex, gets a strange call, and she's just like, hello? And he's like, oh, it's hard to get a hold of you. And she just fucking hangs up. And you're like, okay, that's weird. Hale, the good cop, is using this excuse, having the sons all held at TM, to go around town and question people. So he goes to question the parents first, but they kind of don't say anything, and they don't know anything, but they also don't let him talk to the daughter at all. Like, they're not letting anybody talk to her because they need more information so they can catch him. But you see Tig drugs the cops that are at TM, so they all pass out, fall asleep. So they all go and they all conduct their own investigation where they're following Hale and pretty much going in right after him to question all these people. Mainly, they're looking for Darby, who's like the white supremacist guy from the X-Files, because he's like the leader of the white supremacist gang, and that night they saw a couple of like skinhead guys walking around at the circus. Then Gemma, after she's at the hospital seeing Abel, she's smoking outside, and she sees Darby at the hospital. So she calls Clay, tells him where Darby is because they've been looking for him, and then she distracts him, and they have like this weird moment where he's like hitting on her, and it's really uncomfortable because she's like a fucking Nazi. Also, does distract him in a way where once Clay and the guys finally get there, she leaves and they can question him, but he insists that they're not a part of it. Then he says there is a group of guys that kind of match the description that he doesn't really know, that live in like a house out in the forest or whatever. And so the boys go out there and they're trying to like go, you know, rough him up and get some questions answered. It turns out that it's not even what they think it is. It's like an AA meeting. And you see Tara back at the hospital with Hale. She's like, if I had a restraining order on somebody in a different state and I came here, would the restraining order still be like valid? Which is like a suspicious question to ask your cop friend. Let's just be real here. Like, come on. Like, you might as well tell them who you're talking about at that point. But Tara is like, doesn't tell him anything. She's like, maybe I'm just paranoid. I'm not gonna lie, Tara is a character that I'm constantly flip-flopping on if I like her or not. Yeah. So, yeah. But for now, she's fine for now. Then Hale tries to talk to the victim, but his parents won't let him. Because like I said, they don't want her to get traumatized by having to like relive the whole situation with somebody, and they think that if she tells somebody, the whole town's gonna know, as if the whole town already doesn't know. You see Gemma visiting Wendy, and she's like, well, I lied to the cops for you, so you're welcome. And then Gemma's like, nothing gets in the way of me and my family, especially my conscience. And it's just like, Gemma just sneaks her little ass into the victim's room and starts talking to her about it. Like, she says something like, oh, I know the secret, it's okay, you don't have to hide it from me. And then she seemed like really relieved. She didn't get that much information out of the kid. And so she tells her mom that she talked to her daughter and that she needs to let her daughter tell people the truth. People, when they get assaulted, it's like hard to come out about it a lot of the time. It's hard to talk about it. It's hard to like name the person, especially if they scared you or like they threatened you, or it's like a popular person, or if it's like a friend, or if it's like a family member. You know, you don't like you're kind of in a state of mind to not really want to talk about it and like scares you to talk about it. But you talking about it will not hurt you anymore than keeping it in. There's a lot of things you could do if you are brave enough to speak out about things that happen to you and not hide because it's like shameful or like scary. Gemma is talking to the mom and tells her that, essentially like in different words, and the mom eventually tells Gemma exactly what happened because the daughter remembered all of it. She told her mom. So Gemma knows everything. So as soon as she's done talking to the mom, she calls Jax, tells him everything, and it's one of the carnies. They roll up on them when they beat them up and everything, and then they take the guy that did it and they drag him out into the forest. They beat the shit out of him, and then they have like her dad out there. So her dad's there, and they like give him a knife, and it's like, are you gonna do it? Or are you gonna be a little bitch and not do it? He can't do it. So Clay takes over and just does it his damn self. And they ship the balls in the mail to Dad. Then you see Jax reading again on the rooftop, and a quote from the book is, "The true outlaw finds a balance between the passion in his heart and the reason in his mind," which is referring to killing people. Then you meet an awful character, awful, terrible, bad man named Agent Cohen, who is a type of high up law enforcement officer. And this is Tara's ex-boyfriend and her stalker. And he's been like trying to find her, trying to get a hold of her, like. And then Jax and Wendy have a moment where he brings her to see the baby. Well, she just hugs him. She's like, "Thank you so much for this," and hugs him. And it's like, you can tell like Jax really wants a family. Like he really wants a family, but he's a troubled man. The very last scene, you see Agent Cohen showing up in Charming to the police station, meeting Hale and being like, "Hey, I'm here to investigate the Sons of Anarchy." Hale is just like, "Hell yeah, let's go," because he wants to get the Sons so badly that he's just willing to. Like, obviously, some external help would be very helpful for his case against the Sons, but the only reason Cohen knows about the Sons is because he was stalking Tara. So that's how episode 3 ends, and that is where I'll leave you. Please subscribe if you want to see more of this, because I will be going through the whole thing. It will take quite some time, and I'm fully aware of that. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time!